Excellencies, distinguished guests, mes chers amis, c'est un honneur d'être parmi vous ce soir. You know, it's very clear that everyone in this room is deeply invested in building a better future for Africa. But it's also clear that that future will be out of reach until we tackle malnutrition. I'm optimistic that we can build a better future, a healthier, a more educated future for African children, and a more productive future for all, because malnutrition is a solvable problem. If we're going to build that future, however, we've really got to recognize that all young people have to have access to two basic things in order to succeed, in order to be at their full potential, and in order to make the maximum contribution to their own national priorities. That's a strong immune system and a fully developed brain. And without good nutrition, neither of those is possible. There is no better image of unequal opportunity than a stunted child standing next to a well-nourished child, because you know the odds are stacked against that malnourished child from the beginning. And there's also no better ingredient in the recipe for instability and conflict than a cohort of young people, millions strong, who realize that they're falling behind and who are struggling to catch up and who have nothing to gain from protecting the status quo. So if nutrition is one of the best investments we can make, not only because it's an investment in the health of people and countries, but because it's also an investment in education, in economic growth, and in long-term equity and stability, that's the key question we're asking ourselves today. Why aren't we doing more? So this gathering is rightly focused on how to move from knowing to doing. And I'm going to focus on a few specifics in my remarks here. Later this evening, the African Union will launch a strategic framework for anemia prevention for Africa, mapping the way forward towards sharply reducing anemia for women, adolescent girls, and children. That's something very tangible. There is no plan like this anywhere else in the world. That is what African leadership looks like. And that nutrition leadership, in a critical time for the world, is being seen outside of Africa now. At Nutrition International, we have been proud to work alongside the World Health Organization in support of the AU efforts to raise the profile of anemia. And these efforts are important because there's been very little progress on this issue up until now. In fact, in some countries, anemia rates have even been going up. And so we need this kind of leadership if we're going to reach the ambitions we set for ourselves, whether global targets, whether SDGs, whether Agenda 2063. So if we use this opportunity wisely, Africa not only has the power to seriously reduce anemia and take a bite out of malnutrition on the continent, but to inspire others to act as well. But how do we transform this leadership we're seeing at the African Union level on anemia into action and measurable impact for women, adolescent girls, and children? I've got three specific suggestions. The first, we must translate continental strategies into national action plans. A regional plan is good, but country leadership in action is where the rubber meets the road. So we need to encourage and support countries to develop costed anemia action plans that are tailored to their specific context and prioritize investments in the best things first. So with support from Canada, we are already working with the government of Kenya and Tanzania to develop these plans. So already the AU priority on anemia is inspiring concrete action. We just need to build on this and get more countries on board. The second thing is we need to cultivate broad and deep buy-in from the very communities these plans are designed to help. That means meaningful engagement with women and adolescent girls in particular, so local plans reflect their needs. I want to share a quick anecdote with you. Yesterday, I was with our team from Nutrition International and government in Hawassa, and we spent the day looking at some of our programs there. One of those visits was to a school where we were trying to advance a program to target anemia among adolescent girls using the school platform. So we sat in a classroom full of adolescent girls listening to their experience. And they shared their experience of having weekly iron folic acid and nutrition education and how things had changed for them, how they had more energy. They lost fewer days at school due to illness. They were able to concentrate more, and their performance was better at school. And you know, we asked them the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? I share with you their answers. And I actually wish they were here to share with you themselves. Next time, let's have them here with us. But they were saying, one of them said, I want to be a doctor. Two of them said, I want to be a teacher. One said, I want to be a judge. And one of them said, I want to be the next Minister of Health. So, you have up-and-comers coming. That's good news for you. But think about it. This is the fabric of the future that we must protect today. This is very precious, and this is what we're fighting for that possibility, for those people to come and build the future of our countries. And so it also means engaging and equipping and investing in local civil society organizations and including them in our collective efforts, because they are the drivers of demand, and they are also the drivers of institutional and grassroots changes that lead to the lasting impact that we crave. Final point. When we do have tailored, costed, and investable plans at country level, we need to think differently about how we finance them. The world is always changing. We must change with it. So it's very clear that countries are the primary investor, right? And they need to own their plans and increase their investments. That's where we're going. But also traditional donors can and they must play their part, even though there are domestic pressures that are increasing these days and they face many disruptions that we're seeing. But the very important decision makers here, the difference makers, I think, and my colleague alluded to this before, that can move costed plans forward quickly are multilateral development banks. And that's why it's very encouraging to increasingly see them step forward on nutrition and to also be represented here tonight. They need bankable plans in order to invest, and we must commit to giving them bankable plans. We can, because we know what works in nutrition. We know how much it costs, and we know what the impact will be. And we also know the cost of inaction, and that cost is far too high. So final thoughts on this financing piece. We can be more creative in our approaches too. And I plant this example of an idea in the back of your mind. It's kind of a two birds, one stone example. We can mobilize additional revenue by taxing sugar-sweetened beverages and ultra-processed foods, which are driving overweight, obesity, and non-communicable diseases. And we can reinvest that. We can plow it back into prevention and to maternal and nutrition programs. That's what's called a double win in nutrition. And we can target more of those. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, who I'm sure are eagerly anticipating their dinner, Africa's leadership on nutrition, of which the Anaemia framework is only one example. Actually, when I think of who inspires me personally on nutrition, mostly my mind goes to different African voices. Whether they are on our board, whether they are here tonight, you give more inspiration than you may be aware of. Please continue. We need more of that light. And as previous speakers have said, we have an opportunity right in front of us with the Nutrition for Growth Summit happening at the end of March. So I encourage all countries represented here to build ambitious goals and pledge to achieve them. Because if we move together, we can create a new level of ambition and momentum in nutrition. Thank you all for your attention. I want to end with one quote in Amharic that I love, and that's to honor our Ethiopian hosts, but please forgive my terrible pronunciation. The quote is, Dir biabir anbesa yasir. And it means, does anyone who speaks Amharic understand that? Did that make sense, Minister? Yes? Okay, thank God. If all of us put our webs together, we can even catch a lion. And ladies and gentlemen, the lion we are hunting for together is the promise of a future in Africa that is malnutrition-free. Thank you very much.